Hello and welcome to another episode of Just Be a Man. Thank you for joining us again. Today we have our normal cast. We have Charles.
Yo.
Steph.
Yo.
Chuck.
Hey.
Money Mike.
P-Funk for life, yo.
Hey. So thank you again for joining us. We have a good show in front for us. We have a good show for tonight. Want to make sure that you guys have an opportunity to check us out on all our social media platforms. Check us out on any podcasting application that you use. We are always there. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Oh, and don't forget us on YouTube. So, hey, so again, thank you for joining us. Again, we can always be found on our website also at jbampod.com, jbampod.com. So, hey, we want to do something a little bit different tonight. We're going to do a little mixture. Instead of having one specific topic, we want to talk about a couple of things here. So some things that are really impactful to the Black culture. And so we just want to kind of share some things with you. But before we do, we wanted to make sure that we give some props to our sponsor, and
yes,
that
indeed.
sponsor is Manscaped. So Chuck, tell us about Manscaped.
Oh my God! Breaking news: the Manscaped engineering team has successfully launched the Lawnmower 4.0. So, like we're old school manscapers now. All right, and we were one of the first to get our hands on it and share the news. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code, what is it?
JBAMSCAPE.
JBAMSCAPE. I always get that mess mixed up. JBAMSCAPE, all right? The JBAM crew is among the first to try the new 4.0, and I'm personally blown away by the performance. The craftsmanship and details on the 4.0 are the next level. Their advanced ceramic blade, skin-safe technology is so good that it almost seems as if Manscaped worked with the Elon Musk engineers to ensure our testes are safe as possible. If you've used the inferior tools in the past, trust me, Manscaped is the absolute best. There is nothing worse than a grooming accident. I think we can all agree on that. You don't want to snippy fellas.
Facts.
Right?
No lies told
right?
there.
No.
Yes, sir.
All right. What makes this trimmer different than all the other trimmers? A new multifunction on-off switch can engage a travel lock created for people who like to travel. You don't have that on your current. Yeah, fellas, if you got one, you don't have the travel lock. That's the newfangled stuff. All right.
Mm-hmm.
The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. The new trimmer even allows you to customize your trim all over through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 through 4. And looks-wise, it's sleek with a two-tone matte and gloss finish. Even features a hot foil stamped black chrome Manscaped logo. It's real nice. It looks real nice, guys. The optimized Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is waterproof, so you can groom in the shower and not have to worry about making a mess on the bathroom floor. Did I mention the wireless charging?
No, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, that needs to be mentioned. All right. The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help battery life last longer, which is important, right? Especially if you're one of them over hairy dudes. The last thing you want to do is run out of battery charge halfway through.
Yeah.
If you're still trimming your face with your ball trimmer, which you shouldn't be doing, it's time to make some changes.
That's just nasty. That's just
pretty much.
It don't smell that. Don't smell that good either.
Yeah, you know what that makes you? It makes you a dickhead.
Boss
okay,
nigga.
but get 20% off plus free shipping with the code JBAMSCAPED. All right, at manscaped.com. No person wants to end up with pubes in their mouth, and your balls will thank you. All right, pick up Manscaped today, y'all. It's really worth it. It really is.
We're only 9 days away from Father's Day.
That's right.
Hey,
That's
you're right.
a great Father's Day gift.
All jokes aside, it really is. If you're into your personal appearance and grooming, if you want to make your lady happy, This really is a good Father's Day.
No,
gift.
no. The lady
Take
want to
one.
make her man happy. Now, kids should not be buying this for their father.
No.
That's true. That's true. But it works both ways. She's buying it for you to make you happy, but ultimately, in the end, she wins.
Right.
Win-win.
Good
There you go.
stuff. Good stuff.
All right, Chuck. Appreciate you. Appreciate
Hey,
you.
Chuck,
Yes, sir.
that was ball-tastic, brother.
God, I hate you.
All right, fellas. So jokes aside, we want to go through some things that have been going on more recently in the Black culture, and just want to bring up a couple of things that we thought were really important things to talk about. So first, this is the 100-year anniversary of the massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we put a little visual up here. Hope you guys can see this okay. We put a little list up here. So we're really focused on the massacre in Tulsa, but this is something that's been circulating over the internet in different places. And it's like, it just shows how many things there are that have happened. And a massacre is really different. Just think about it. A massacre is not like, a police shooting an individual. Right. We're talking about bunches and bunches of folks. We're not talking about one or two. So a massacre is a serious, serious thing. So we're going to really just focus on the Tulsa one, right? And that's because it's been 100 years, almost exactly to the day. I believe the date was May 31st, and it was somewhere from 18 to 24-hour shit.
It was actually the first or the second when people were really getting killed.
Yeah,
they
Memorial Day weekend.
31st.
Yep.
It started on the 31st.
So it would. Thank you, Steph. That would So basically, it was a really, really bad time. So I just want to talk a little bit about it. I know a lot of people have heard about the Black Wall Street and all these different things that are going on. So this thing happened in 1921, but I think what people really need to understand is that this was a thriving community,
right?
And so 1921 was like almost the end of it, but it had been going on for many, many years. In fact, when they first went into the Oklahoma area, it was not a state; it was just a territory, and it was kind of like when that Great Migration of the Native Americans out west. They went, there was land that was left over, and that's kind of how they got it. During that time, they also found oil in Tulsa. So now, it's just not garbage, it's real, right? They're like, So now it got really, really crazy. And so, these people were very, very successful, and they were successful because they were segregated. They couldn't go anywhere else and get their goods and services. But we're not just talking about like little stuff. They had their own newspaper.
Oh yeah,
Right.
self-sufficient.
Right.
Banks,
So
theater, all that.
Anything and everything you could want. They had hotels. They had anything and everything you could want. And they didn't need to they didn't really need to cross the tracks, because they had all. And we're not just talking about having something. They had good stuff, right? Like their hotel was no joke. And so it's just, I think I really just wanted to bring this up because, and I want each one of you guys to kind of share whatever it is that you feel that you want to share about it. But I just want to bring it up because so many people don't know about it. And this last week or so, it's been all over the television. And one of the things that I've heard in multiple situations is that a lot of the people who grew up in Tulsa didn't know a lot about it. It was like hush hush. It was like a secret, which was like really crazy. It's really crazy. Just a couple other things I wanted to share really quickly. Although it was burnt down and hundreds of people died, I think they reported it was like 20 or 30, but there was hundreds of people that died. In 1940, I think by 1941, it was bigger than it was in 1921. They had rebuilt it and came back, and it was even bigger. Ultimately in the 60s, they started doing all this reorganization and all that. They rode, we talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma, but it was very specifically the Greenwood district within Tulsa. And they actually, in the 60s, they actually brought a highway right through it. Push people. I mean, like it's crazy. So
Mhm.
I mean, I got more to say, but I just want other people to chime in. So Mike, what are your thoughts on anything you want to say about Tulsa? What's your thoughts?
How can I say this, man? I think first of all, I'm very proud of Tulsa, what they started, what happened back then, and because of the schools, the banks, the grocery stores, small businesses, newspaper, they had their own newspaper, hotels. These were things that people were thriving due to the fact that they were coming off a negative experience of slavery. A lot of these people pulled themselves up by the bootstraps, and through the generations, a lot of them became educated and sent their kids to college. They were going to school. He even had I guess, a junior high school there. And it's just sad to see that, people who did what they had to do. They bought land, they pulled their money, they became professionals, they started building wealth, just to get robbed because of who they are. And the biggest problem that I have with a lot of this stuff that's going on, not just then, but even now, it's lack of respect for our race, due to the transition over the generations of time, starting from slavery. For some reason, that black cloud, or excuse the pun, of slavery has transcended, and even no matter how high you go on the ladder, for some reason, unfortunately, race tends to play a part in that. And I think the reason why a lot of us, and not just, I mean, there's other people, all other ethnicities that are being, stepped on at different times in history. But I think a lot of times it's because people don't respect the race due to the past history of what happened, where they came from. And I just think there's the way the history books are set up, that people don't get the full extent of how prosperous our people were.
Right.
And that's it for me right now.
I appreciate that. Steph, I know you got something on this. What you gonna say?
Well, I tell you, I'm gonna look at 3 incidents besides Tulsa. If you look at the map, Wilmington in 1898, that was a self-sufficient city.
Yep.
Run by black people on the
Politicians.
ocean front, and basically we were run out of town. And a lot of people don't want to talk about it, specifically in the state of North Carolina, but it's real. And then you look at Rosewood in Florida in 1923. Basically it was a self-sufficient town, and somehow, some way, someone cried wolf, and then that town was burnt down. And then you look at the same thing in Tulsa in 1921. So it's a matter of, once we get to a certain place, somebody's got to bring us down. Someone's going to destroy us. And we see this in modern day right now. You got Colin Kaepernick, who took a knee. He's destroyed. You got Naomi Osaka, who said, look, I've got mental issues when it comes to a press conference. And now they're trying to ban her from all four of the majors in tennis. So it's one of those things. Once we start becoming prosperous, there's always a push to bring us down, or put us in our place. And that's that's disconcerting. But history has shown that has been a pattern. And, the amazing thing is, on Twitter, several historians said, "Hey, I've got a PhD in history, and I didn't know about Tulsa." And to include people that live in Oklahoma. So there has always been a system to whitewash and clean up all battlefield injuries, and ensure that it's not taught.
Exactly. Yeah.
Charles.
I mean,
go ahead, Chuck.
No, I was just gonna say, how would it look if history reflected the truth, the ugly truth, that the way white people in this country rose to power and prominence is through threats of fear and intimidation and murder and all of that. You can't be pictured as the savior or the great white hope if all your dirt, your baggage is on display, right? So what do? They whitewash history. Tulsa, all the other massacres. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but the other massacres, Tulsa was what, 21?
1921.
1921. Okay. Us on this podcast, we were in school in the 70s, right? American history, Earth history, whatever you want to call it, and you whatever. Guaranteed, no one on this podcast heard about Tulsa in school,
I didn't.
right?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Right, but especially Black folks. That's not something that we learn, because you keep if you're trying to stay in power, you don't want to rile those who are being oppressed. So yeah,
You don't want anyone thinking that, hey, you could come up too. So if
exactly.
you have everybody
That's
around the
another
world
thing.
thinking like that,
Right. You mean Black folks had their own stuff and they were prosperous? We can actually do this. You know what I mean? So yeah. And again, I hate to say white people, but they always find a way. There's always a trigger when it comes to us and why they had to do what they did. And I hate to. It's my terminology, and I'm speaking from me. I call it the uppity nigger syndrome. All right. When Black folks get a little too what they believe is uppity, they got to go in and they got to quash it. Tulsa started because they felt a Black man got out of pocket with a white woman in an elevator. Right. He goes to jail, which they normally do to us. They jailed him, and they were talking about lynching him. Right. And so they had, a mob formed out there in front of the courthouse or wherever he's being jailed, and they talked him off the ledge. You can't shoot this man. You can't. We're gonna deal with. So what do? They go and if we can't take it out on him, we're gonna take it out somewhere else, and that's what they do to us, right? So, but you can't put that ugly truth out there, because if you do, over a period of time, if we were to rise up, you know what I mean, and that's always been their fear. So, I mean, I'll let somebody else speak, but you know how I feel about this topic, man. I hate the fact that white America has been allowed to just sweep history under the rug and shape the narrative to their benefit. And we built this country.
Yeah, well,
for free.
Hey, it's the golden rule, Chuck. The man with the goal makes the rules.
That's
Hey.
it. That's it.
Charles, what you got?
Well, I think just to tag on to what everyone else said, whitewash is the perfect term to use as it relates to what took place in Tulsa and everything that followed it, because there's been this complete suppression as if it didn't happen. But
Right.
the fact of the matter is, it was 35 square blocks. We're talking about the wealthiest Black community in the United States.
Mhm.
Now, I was looking into some information about this all throughout the week, and they talked about how in 2020 terms, this community would have been worth over $350 million, in terms of economic wealth that they brought forth. And again, you're talking about you're talking about a complete destruction of Black wealth, not only there in Tulsa, but of course, there are like 20 some odd examples, up here on the screen with regards to what has taken place. It's been systematic. The other thing that that was mentioned is the fact that the police were directly involved in that riot. Matter of fact, they actually armed it. They deputized and armed members of the white mob in an effort to go out. There were airplanes that were flown over that community. They dropped bombs on that community, bro.
Mhm.
That's how badly they wanted to destroy the wealth, the Black people, the Black community, things of that nature. And what burns me up about a lot of white people is that they've controlled this narrative, right? With regards to history, they conveniently forget about slavery. They conveniently forget about all these Black massacres. They conveniently forget about Jim Crow and the systematic racism and all those things. The fact that we couldn't read, we couldn't vote. I mean, all those things were designed to destroy our community. They've had essentially like a 200, 400 year head start on Black people. And every time every single time we've made significant gains where, and they've looked over and saw how well we were doing, here comes the BS. Here come the attacks. Here come the massacres, things of that nature.
They continuously move the goalpost.
Continuously, right? And even today, they're wondering, like, why are some of our Black people in the condition that they're in? Well, imagine had we been left the hell alone to thrive the way that we were thriving. Imagine had we been able to benefit from the hundreds upon hundreds of inventions that we developed. Imagine had there not been a systematic racist government intact that was designed to separate us, to destroy us. Imagine had we been left to our own devices, how phenomenal we would be as a people and as a society right here in the United States. But all of that was taken away. All of that, like you all said before, was whitewashed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot here, and does anyone have any thoughts? I know we are going to move on. It was really important to put this out there because I think that people, as I said, many of we're in our 50s and we didn't know a whole lot about this until more recently. And just if we could just someone could get something out of this, or just know, like, hey, maybe I should check that out. That's kind of the goal. But does anyone else want to say anything before I have a couple final words on this?
Yeah, I do. The big thing is you control the press, you control the narrative.
Yep.
And that's what happened. People don't talk about the Trail of Tears, where basically we moved Indians or Native Americans from the East Coast way out west. People don't talk about the MOVE initiative in Philadelphia in 1985 when we were high school seniors. Where they dropped a bomb on a thriving neighborhood where all the Black people wanted to do was uplift. And sometimes I'm afraid even 2021, here in Prince George's County, one of the wealthiest counties in the nation for African Americans, what could happen here when they get tired of us seceding and doing so well? Will they start enacting laws that subjugate us? What's going to happen? So, when you control the press, you control the narrative. And in Tulsa's case, the white newspaper said 2 or 3 white people were killed. It didn't talk about all the Black people that were killed, injured, or displaced. Just
300.
2 or 3. Yeah. Just
But remember
that.
Remember that other headline: "Nab that nigga."
Right.
Nab
Correct.
that nigga.
Right. Correct. So that's the frustration. But eventually the stories will be told. It's just how they're told, and unless we tell them, they will get whitewashed. Just the last example, and I promise I'll get quiet. 1619 Project. The author of that project is now being denied tenure at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, because she wrote something critical which told the truth about 1619 when we arrived at Point Comfort, now Fort Monroe in Hampton, Virginia. And basically she laid it out there and people are uncomfortable. Well, damn it, you got to be uncomfortable because we were uncomfortable for 400 years.
Right.
Hey, Wayne, real quick.
Yo.
I just want to say, whoever's watching this, whether it's family, friend, or foe, just let you know, there's not angry Black men up here. They're disappointed Black men to a certain point because there was lack of respect for our race and we weren't able to thrive the way we should have been. So if you see us up here, don't misconstrue it. It's a fact of disappointment that we know for a fact that people could have thrived and become a lot more than what we were. And to see how it affected the generation is sad. It's very sad. And if you're not strong enough to get yourself out of it, you can fall prey to all that negativity that came with the lack of respect of race.
Yeah, the one thing I have to say, Wayne, real quick, is that we now have information systems at our fingertips as a people. We no longer have to rely on white people in the history books teaching us about our own history. We have the opportunity to do the research ourselves on some of these things and pass that information on, to the next generation, to make sure that these stories are kept alive, that people are informed and they know what the heck happened with regards to history. So again, we have the ability to tell our own stories. And I just encourage people, if you're watching this podcast, do some individual research. It's
Stay woke, people.
amazing exactly how much information is out there, with regards to Black massacres, Black wealth. I mean, all types of Black history that we're not taught, in elementary school.
Yep. And Charles, I was just going to say, you said opportunity as well as an opportunity. You also have the obligation, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Got
It's
to
an
get it
obligation.
done.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one of the last things I want to say on this topic before we move is I just want to just point out that in the later month, in the last, I don't know, 2 weeks or so, they have passed a bill in the House, the Senate, and been signed by the president for the Asian American hate crimes bill.
That went through quick.
And
That's
this
nice.
is something that happened based upon the backlash from the coronavirus, the Kung flu, as it was called. So we're talking about it took a year to get to a bill that is now, I'm putting that out there. I mean, it's fucked up, right? Where we at with ours?
Mhm.
Right.
Where we at? All right, I'm gonna leave it on that. So anyway, on that note, I'm gonna move us away from this real quick. We're gonna talk about something that's a little bit less heart-wrenching, I guess. Entertaining equally. But Charles is gonna take us through something real quick. But what I'm gonna do first, before Charles kind of takes over, we want to share a little clip with you. And once you see this, Charles is going to take it over from the other side of that. All right, just hold on. It's going to be just a couple minutes. I know many of you have heard this already, but we want to speak to it, and anyone hasn't heard it, we just want to put a little bit of it out there for you.
Well, let me go ahead and tee it up, Wayne. First of all, if you're just tuning in, you're watching the Just Be a Man podcast, where we offer commentary from a man's perspective. This week, comedian actress Monique made headlines with some comments that she made on social media about our sisters, how they go to the airport with bonnets and pajamas and things of that nature. So
She went in.
that's what we're going to talk about. So Wayne, let's hear it, brother. Let's tee up the clip.
Hey, my sweet baby. So, it took me a minute to say what I'm getting ready to say, because I want to make sure I'm not saying it from judgment. And I want to make sure I'm saying it from a place of love. Y'all, some of y'all have given me.
Turn the volume up a little bit here.
And I'm honored that y'all do that, right? But there are times where Auntie got to talk to her babies and say some real shit. So yesterday, I was in the airport in Atlanta because I'm in Jackson, Mississippi now at Chuckles Comedy Club, right? And we got 3 shows tonight. We got a matinee at 5:30, then we got 7, then we got 10, right? And I'm excited. I always love going to the stage. So when we got to the airport yesterday, I was excited, like, all right, baby, let's go get them in Jackson, Mississippi. And as we began to walk through the airport, I saw so many, actually too many to count and too many for me to tap. But I saw so many of our young sisters in head bonnets, scarves, slippers, pajamas, blankets wrapped around them. And this is how they're showing up to the airport. And I've been seeing it, not just at the airport. I've been seeing it at the store, at the mall. I've been seeing sisters showing up with these bonnets and headscarves and their slippers. And the question that I'm having to you, my sweet babies, when did we lose pride in representing ourselves? When did we step away of, let me make sure I'm presentable when I leave my home? Let me make sure I'm representing the family I created, so that if I'm out in the street, I look like I have pride in myself. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying no full face of makeup. I'm not saying no full front lace frontal. I'm not saying none of that. All I'm saying is, could you please comb your hair? And if you don't want to comb your hair, they got enough shit out here now, baby, where you can style yourself up and look like you have pride. I'm not saying you don't have pride, But the representation that you're showing, someone would have to ask you to know that you had it. So my sweet babies, for the ones that do call me auntie, I love you for real. Even the ones that don't, I love y'all asses too. But the babies that say auntie to me, please listen to auntie. Always have pride in your representation of you. It's not to get a man. It's not, it is just your representation of you, my sweet babies. So I'm just giving y'all a warning.
My brothers. So, I know we have mad love for Monique on this show, considering she is a Morganite from Morgan State University.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. I mean, she has gotten some flack for the comments that she's made. So I just want to get the brother's perspective on this. I mean, does she have a point? What do you think?
I think yes and no.
Mhm.
I think Monique is old school. If you've ever listened to Monique, and Monique is a homegirl. She's from the Baltimore area, the Maryland area. And I mean, I can remember my mother back in the day. I think my sister was going to 7-Eleven or something, and she was about to walk out. It was early in the morning. She was about to walk out of the house, and she had rolls in her hair. It was an early Saturday morning with the, I guess, shower cap or whatever. My mother almost had she pulled her aside. I heard her. She was like, "Whoa, no, ma'am, we don't do that. If you're gonna leave this house, you take the time to get yourself presentable and this, that, and the other." She let her know you never know. And I think that's where Monique was coming from. All right. That place of love and, hey, when you leave the house, you're a representation of not only yourself, but your family and this and that. I get that. But, just in the last day or two in preparation for the show, I've been, looking online and talking to my kids and it's unfortunately, this generation looks at things through what they believe is a stylish lens. For example, the whole pants on the ground. Remember that pants on the ground, pants on the ground. These kids sagging their pants and stuff like that. To them that's a trend. From generationally, we're looking at it saying, "Nah, bro, that's not a trend." Starts in jail. The whole 9 yards. But they think it's cool, and they say ignorant shit like we taking the power back. All right, y'all think it's gay or whatever. Well, we're taking the power back, so we're gonna keep doing it. I say that because I've heard them say that with the N word. Well, we're gonna take the power back. There's so much blood on that word, you can never take the power out of that word. All right, and that's kind of what they're like, the bonnets and they're showing up at the airports and stuff. They're trying to say it's a trend. I mean, I was told that they have, and I looked at it. They've got ladies doing podcasts in their bonnets. I forgot what it's called. What's her name? From not the Basketball Wives.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it.
She's got a podcast where she's wearing a bonnet or whatever. So there's certain segments of the community that are trying to popularize the look or whatever. So I fully understand what Monique was saying, and I think I understand where she was coming from. That old school place that you don't do that. When you leave the house and you're presentable, this, that, and the other. But these kids nowadays are saying, "Oh, y'all old folks, this is just, fashion and this, that, and the other." And what we're saying is, y'all don't get it. What you're calling fashion today, your employers or future employers and things like that, they're not looking at it the same way. So I get what Monique is saying. I kind of understand what the new generation is saying, which is, hey, this is our thing, and we're taking the power out or whatever, and it's fashion, all this other stuff, which I personally think is kind of stupid. But I kind of see both sides, but I think I pretty much need to leave it right there, because I see Monique's side. I see the kid's side. Why, hey, it's not a big deal if I'm traveling early in the morning, and because this weave costs all this. Back in our day, our wives they weren't wearing weaves like that. They weren't wearing wigs. Your grandmother was wearing wigs and stuff. So now today, they get these $300 hairdos and stuff. They want to protect it if they're going on vacation and stuff. So they're wearing these do rags so I kind of see both sides, but I'm actually team. Oh shit! I'm gonna say I'm team 50-50. Until
Oh,
unless I hear compelling argument. Listen,
if you've
if
ever
you're going
heard a cop-out answer, that's it.
That's
That's
the
it.
bullshit.
Rewind the
Damn.
last 60 seconds of this
I'm
podcast,
only
and you
using
got
Monique's
complete
reference.
Chuck,
bullshit
Chuck,
I'm only
answer
using
with
Monique's
regards.
reference in
Come
the
on, man.
in the airport.
Come on, man.
Chuck.
That's
We
all.
old
That's all I'm
school,
using.
baby. Come on, man.
Yeah,
We
no
old school.
doubt.
Listen,
If you going out and you being professional, no, and you wearing a bun, nah. But I'm
Chuck.
saying if you the red eye, they can't
Let
wear. They
me
can't wear.
let me say something.
Mike, I mean, Chuck, I'm gonna have to give you the hook real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Sandman.
Go ahead, Wayne.
Sandman, take him out. Now I wasn't gonna go now, but look, I completely disagree. I think the way we just went through this whole thing about this, the Black massacres, and how people showed how they were able to rise above all the bullshit. Now, if you are, I don't care what kind of money you got in your pocket, I don't care what kind of hairdo or whatever you got. If you every time you walk out the house, you don't look like you ready to do business or you ready to represent yourself, your family, and all that. No, I don't care.
You've never worn sweats and flip flops to 7-Eleven.
Of course, I'm not saying I haven't. Yeah.
Okay, what's the difference?
But hold on though.
What's the
When you go to an airport, when you go to a supermarket, now
Okay.
well, first of all, I haven't really.
You never been to the supermarket in flip flops
I haven't, but that's just me.
and sweatpants.
Of course, I go to
Come on now.
sweatpants. I'm going to the gym.
That's not hypocritical.
Sweatpants.
Okay. No. No, they wearing bedroom slippers, bathrobes. They wearing bonnets. But check it out. Though. Check it out. But check this out. When you go to an airport, right? And I don't know how you can put an airport like a 7-Eleven, but you go to an airport, you're interacting with a bunch of people. You're traveling between states. You're going in and out of these planes where you have possible opportunities to meet important people, opportunities, networking. You got all these opportunities and you looking crazy. Let me say it like this. Even if we pull the airports out of that, are you telling me you walk into a 7-Eleven or whatever store and you see someone looking like they just rolled out of a dumpster, you don't, and they're a Black person and there's a mix of people, you don't feel something? You don't care? No.
I always want someone to be presentable. I think we do, but I think it's one. I think it's hugely hypocritical to say that a woman has to have her hair made up all the time. And
no one is saying that. Monique did not say that.
I'm not talking about Monique now. I'm addressing Wayne and what he just said, because what he said to me is hypocritical. You're saying that you roll into 7-Eleven, you see a woman in there, she's got a head bonnet on, she's got sweats or whatever. She came because she just didn't feel like making coffee that morning. She went to 7-Eleven, she gets some coffee and come home. So you're saying she can't do that because, she looks crazy. And what I'm saying to you is, there's been plenty of times when I just finished cutting the grass, I got on my grass cutting slippers and whatever, and I go to 7-Eleven, get a cup of coffee. So that's not what I'm saying. If we're talking about that, that's hypocritical and it's not fair. Now, if you're talking about getting on an airplane, even with that, who's to say that this person, the woman or the guy, is they're going to get the bag? So in other words, they're flying to New York, let's say, all right? But by the time they get there, they don't have time to do whatever. So all right, I hear what you're saying. If you're out in public and you're in a professional setting, I totally agree with that. You should put your best foot forward all the time. And truthfully, I believe if you leave in the house, you should make every effort to do that.
Hey,
but what
Chuck,
I'm saying is,
I gotta hear from everybody.
Time.
I gotta hear from everybody, bro. Mike.
Got you.
Mike.
Hey man, all I can say, Chuck, I disagree with that. That bonnet thing, nah, it's generational. They're going against the norm. The thing about it is, most people, if you come from a formidable family, you were taught that if you go out somewhere, you're somewhat presentable. You understand what I'm saying? It seems like now with all these bonnets, these different color and designer bonnets, that people are making it okay. And I don't know who came up with the idea,
right.
But we're in a state of woke. We need to be woke about our history, what's going on or whatever. And why are we taking 2 steps back? Now the bonnet pops out. You know what I mean? We're trying to stay on top of our history and trying to learn and be more progressive. And now all of a sudden, people want to wear bonnets to the airport, to all this other stuff. Listen, if you got an emergency situation, that's fine. But Monique is talking about people just saying, I don't care. I'm just throw this on, whatever. If you don't have that I don't care attitude, that's on you. But the thing about it is you do have to have some pride. You do have to represent the family. Even me, you talking about going to the to Walmart. No. Do I go to Walmart with some old busted up sneakers? Yeah. But will I go with flip-flops or slides? Not if I can help it. It has to be like last minute, I got to jump in the car. Because you're representing the family. You don't know who you're going to run into. I might run into somebody I ain't seen in 10, 15 years. You don't know. So you need to be somewhat presentable is what I'm saying. Now, a lot of these kids are giving Monique flack because, oh, you old school. We doing this now. We doing what? You fall under that same mindset that we dealing with this nonsense now about, oh, we're going to change. And what'd you say there? They said, Chuck, the youngins were saying?
Take the power.
Oh yeah, take the power. Yeah.
Power. What power are you giving yourself if you looking like Aunt Jemima or something like that walking around? Come on, man. I mean, listen, you got to have some form of respect. My thing is that if you have an emergency situation, you can't help is one thing, but you waking up every day. I even see it in my workplace where there's kids who come to school with this stuff. And I said, what's wrong with your hair? Nothing. So why you had that on? I don't know. I just put it on. I'm like, it's just that somebody came up to give these kids something to do, and now they're taking it to the extreme. And that's just my take on it.
And if I could just say real quick, I'm sorry. I just want to say, I think that running to a store for something and making a preparation, packing a bag to go somewhere, not the same.
Right. Steph, what say you?
All right. First of all, one of our viewers wrote, and I happen to know this viewer, pride in oneself is not defined by the opinions and thoughts of others. Agreed. Okay. Agreed. No, agreed. At least on my part, I do agree. Because, you know, if that's how you feel, then that's how you feel. I can't change you.
Come with it.
But, you know, but I will say, when we were on the yard back in the 80s, if a young lady didn't have an opportunity to do her hair, she threw a hat on. But she did not come out of the dorm or out of her car or across the street with pajamas on or slippers. You know, she still had enough pride. You know, my wife sometimes doesn't have time to do her hair, and she's natural. She will throw a wrap on. You know, she'll wrap her hair and will rock it. You know, so it's all about pride, and it's also the fact that that young lady or young man, they represent a team in some fashion. They either represent themselves as a team, they represent their family or their spouse. So I firmly believe that when you're walking out, you're representing something. And you know, and if you want to wear a bonnet or pajamas, that's on you. I don't agree with it. But at the same time, that's how you want to live your life. But please don't be upset when people look at you and say, you know, that's a crying shame. You know, that young man or woman doesn't have the time or decency just to throw on a pair of jeans or wrap their hair. So
call me old school, call me what you want, but I am thoroughly disappointed with the folks that I see out in the street wearing these bonnets. And I think, of course, you know, Chuck, you touched on it earlier, the male equivalent of that is sagging. And I think the problem that this generation has is what we touched on earlier, is that they don't know their history. The history of Black excellence has been an untold narrative to the point where we've gravitated towards BS. You know, a lot of these men out here that are sagging, they don't realize where that style originated. They're only told one aspect of it, is that, it originated, you know, from folks trying to emulate the prison system, you know, prisoners. But what they're not told is that the people that were specifically walking around prison showing their behinds were the homosexuals advertising themselves. Okay, that's what they were doing. Now, granted, you know, the prison system, they don't give you belts because it could be used as a weapon. You could use it for suicide, things of that nature. However, it is a fact that you had homosexuals behind bars showing their behinds as a means of advertisement, you know, showing other prisoners that, hey, you can come to me for this. And so the average teenager that's walking around here sagging, they don't understand the fact that they're emulating a homosexual. They don't understand that they're following that pattern and calling it swag. They don't understand. I think if they understood that history, they understood the history of Black excellence, you wouldn't be seeing stuff like this. I mean, personally speaking, I don't like my wife wearing a bonnet around the house. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't, but she does, for necessary reasons. But that is something in terms of taking it outside the house. Oh, absolutely not. She has a lot of pride and dignity in herself, and that's just something that she wouldn't do. Not only as a representative, representing herself, but representing me as her husband, her family, things of that nature. So, I agree with Monique 110%. I think that pride, dignity for a lot of these people has just gone by the wayside. And I hear you. I hear other people say, you shouldn't be judging me based on my appearance and things of that nature. The fact of the matter is, everybody is judged. You are judged from the moment you open your mouth. You're judged from the moment people lay eyes on you. That's just the reality of what it is. You don't have to like it, but everybody is saying, who says to themselves or says to others, don't judge me. They're hypocrites, because they know good and well that they're judging other people based on their appearance, based on what comes out of their mouth, things of that nature. You can't help but do that. And
can I add another point? Those TikTok videos where the girl has the bonnet in the bathrobe and then she does this, she covers up. I've yet to see them come with another bonnet. They're always dressed up, or have some type of outfit on.
Yes.
Yeah. And I want to say, I wasn't trying to get at you, Chuck. I'm just saying, I think that there's an opportunity to do, I think growing up and having older people in my family, we ain't have much, but we always had to look like we ain't need to look like we came from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that was
clean.
Yeah, that was it, right? So that's why it's like I think the reason when we talk about this old school, I feel like that kid across the street that I've never met before in my life, that's a Black kid, represents me, boy, girl, whatever. And so now I'm feeling like, damn, how you gonna play me like that? That's how I feel. Is that right? Maybe not, but that's how I feel.
Well, I was gonna say, you to me, you're unfairly putting a hell of a burden on that one kid.
Agreed.
The fate of the entire race is on that kid wearing a bonnet. Now mind you, we're all saying the same thing, and I even believe we're saying it in the same way. I think we're just talking about different degrees. So, for example, someone wearing a bonnet going to 7-Eleven, I think we're all in agreement. Okay, yeah, you get upset, whatever. I think the sticking point was where Monique was talking about being out in what I guess we would deem a professional or public professional quasi setting, like an airport. And, I'm just not, I don't know. I just look at things differently. I guess I'm more liberal than most. I just don't. I don't see. First, I don't see it rising to the level that Monique had to say anything about it. First of all, while I've seen it, and I think we've all seen it, I don't think it's an epidemic. I do think in our community we're lacking passing things on, like home training. And that home training is, when you get up, you shower, you bathe, you make yourself presentable before you leave the house. Right. Kids are raising kids nowadays. So unfortunately, they're not getting the same upbringing and training that we got.
You hit the nail on the head right there.
Exactly. So you're talking about a generational thing.
Respect.
Right?
Generational respect. Right.
So if these things aren't being passed on, you're going to start to see flare-ups like this, and you're going to see people like Monique putting their 2 cents in. And we get it. But by the same token, I just don't see it being the epidemic that people are making it out to be. Sure. Did Monique have a valid point? You goddamn right she did. But And I think it's more powerful because it came from a woman. I think us discussing women and how they decide to leave the house is none of our fucking business, quite personally.
That's a great point.
Exactly.
Great point.
But
Right.
but because Monique spoke on it, everybody's speaking on it, and I'm not looking at it from a woman's right to do anything. I'm looking at it from the society and what society has deemed whatever. And my take on it is, I just really wish society would get the fuck out of everybody's business. Personally, if a woman wants to wear a bonnet, that's her business. She wants to wear a bonnet. Now, do I think personally, because I'm old school, that it looks professional? No, I don't.
But let me ask you this,
But
Jeff.
I don't know that lady. I don't know her story. I don't know where she's going.
But you don't know the sagging. You don't know the sagging dude story. The one who has his pants around his knees.
You're right. But I've talked to plenty of sagging dudes. I'm not okay with that.
But why you talking
people out of my house?
But why you talking to him?
I can't talk to him.
No. What you just said is that we should be leaving the females with the bonnets alone. I'm saying to you that the male equivalent of that to me is the sagging. You just made a statement. You just made a statement that you tap these brothers up. That you talk to them. That you say. My thing is, you're saying two different things. If you're saying that it's their business and everybody should just leave them the hell alone, why are you saying anything to the brothers about their sagging pants?
I'm a man, and I I can give guidance. I mean I can, and if I see
that's what Monique is doing about the
bonnets. I get it, but I'm addressing it from a man's perspective, and I'm saying that I'm okay with it in some respects. Monique's not okay with it, and that's fine. She's a woman, and she can speak on that. Yeah. I'm speaking on it from a man's perspective, and in some instances, I don't have an issue with it. It's just like, again, there's standards for men, and then there's standards for women. The same dude in the airport just wearing shorts and flip flops or whatever because he wanted to be comfortable on a plane. Nobody's gonna give him shit. But a woman that decides, you know what, I want to wear a bonnet because I just got this $300 hairdo, and I'm going down to South Beach, and I want to make sure that I'm fly, I want to be whatever. And she decides she wants to wear a bonnet on a plane to protect her hair because she wants to have a hot girl summer. Why is that a problem?
Well,
it's called etiquette, brother.
Who's etiquette?
You gotta have some type of etiquette or something.
Who's etiquette?
I don't care. Listen, I don't care how much somebody, people. What it boils down to, fellas. Everybody always wants to go against the grain. All right. You know what's expected from you, whatever. And this goes for different ethnicities, different races, whatever. Everybody has that expectation, but it also, as you level up over a period of time, there's certain expectations that you have for your family, whatever. And it just, what boiled down to, and Monique felt at this point in her life where she is, and she knows her etiquette, whatever, I'm sure she took it back by seeing these young ladies look like this, like, wow, you would think by now in this day and age that people would know how to dress when you come to an airport or whatever. And guess what? She took it to the point where she just let out how she felt about it. But a lot of people agreed, a lot of people disagreed, which is going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're running short on time, guys, and we're going to wrap this thing up very quickly. And I want to give everyone the opportunity to offer some last words. So let me start. First and foremost, I think there are levels to this thing. And when I mean levels, I'm talking about exposure, for example. I don't look at going to a 7-Eleven the same as I view going to an airport. I don't even view going to a 7-Eleven where maybe I'll see 10 people, the equivalent of going to a grocery store where there are, a couple of hundred people. I just don't view it the same. And I think that we as a people, in many ways, have lost our way. We've lost pride, we've lost dignity, and I think, and I applaud Monique's effort to try to reel some of that in. She's doing it from a female perspective, and I know, oftentimes we may be a little hesitant to speak and offer coaching to the ladies, but I'm glad she stepped up and offered that coaching. Who's up?
I want to go back to Tulsa. Real quick. Hey, elections matter. In 2021, if Trump had been in office, he would not have gone to Tulsa. He would not have acknowledged exactly what went down. So elections matter, guys. That's all I got to say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say, I think we have some pretty good topics here. The one about just personal dignity or personal pride. I think that's something that we could talk about forever. I think it's a lot of personal opinions on it.
Mhm.
I think Chuck brought up a really good point. You know, it's really hard. It's difficult for a man to say what a woman should do, right? That's just how it goes. So,
Mhm.
Right.
but I'll say, you know, everyone has a right to their opinion, but just like everyone has a right to their opinion, so do I.
Mhm.
Right.
All right. Mike, Chuck.
All I gotta say is there's different levels to dignity. Choose your level.
All right. And 50-50, 50-50. He had the last comment, man.
50-50.
I think you talking about my lip tone? Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I think we're all saying the same thing. I think Charles hit the nail on the head. There's different levels to it. I think that anyone and everyone, when you leave the house in the morning, you should just have enough respect for yourself to, you know, dress yourself accordingly. But I do believe that you can't paint everybody with that broad brush. So there's levels to this shit, in other words.
Mhm.
Right.
And I'm out.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining the Just Be a Man podcast, where we offer commentary from a man's perspective. Again, be sure to check us out on our various social media platforms. Matter of fact, if you're viewing us right now, go ahead and take a look at this red box down here. Text JBAM to 22828 to stay connected to us. So we'll let you guys know what's coming up in terms of future shows, and maybe give you an opportunity to come on the podcast and partner with us. So again, we thank you for joining the Just Be a Man podcast. Peace and love. Mike, take us out.
Put your ego and she-go in check. Deuces.